Could you actually just do that? So I was just about to ask you, could you, so you said, okay, so, they would push back on the one child policy and say, yeah, but that's telling you to sin. And then your pushback, your counter to the counter would be, yeah, and me closing my church is calling me to sin according to my conscience so that brings us all the way back to, so we talked about the truncated, all the false views of persecution. And we've talked a little bit, we haven't gotten to statistics or anything, but we said that the virus in general is overblown. So they're, overblowing the virus, truncating and confusing persecution, but it really all keeps coming back to ecclesiology, right? For you're saying that would be sin to close my churches. And that's because of what you believe about the church. And it's because of what you believe about the state, because you made a comment, handing over the keys to my church to Caesar. And so that being said, could you explain to our listeners why closing your church doors, even in the midst of this pandemic, would be a sin? Could you make an ecclesiastical case for why that would be a sin according to your conscience?
Yeah, so the government is ultimately commanding us to alter what the corporate gathering is. Even their contention that, and they would say this, that live streaming your services is not infringing on your charter rights, on your, in your case, constitutional rights, because you are still able to exercise all of your religious freedom. You just can't be together. And that doesn't really matter, because whether you're together in person or whether you're together through live stream, it's really the same thing. Well, no, it's not. The gathering has always been an in-person reality, and you cannot function as a body of believers when you're not together. You can't practice the one another's unless you're together in the same place. When you think about the body as a spiritual organism that has arms and legs and feet, when you tell people they cannot be present for the corporate gathering, you are telling the body that certain parts of the body can't be present. And that is shutting members of the body off from the gifts that every member has when they come together in fellowship and build up one another. And so I would see in the corporate gathering that you have the means of grace that are available in the Christian life, from the word to prayer, even to singing, the ordinances, and that the means of grace are most fully operative on Sunday when the church gathers as one body, if you can. Sometimes it's two, depending on the size of your facility. And that when you gather in that particular way, you are bringing the entire body together. The Holy Spirit is uniquely present at that time, because the Spirit doesn't just indwell each individual believer, but he is present among them. 1 Corinthians 3:16, when we gather, so that we become a temple collectively, not just individually. And that in the preached word, you have the primary means of grace being administered to the body, the filling of the Spirit being a corporate reality, not just a private reality taking place in the corporate gathering. And then that nourishment of the word, the filling of the Spirit, and the body being set free to now minister to each other is just critical for the spiritual growth and development of the body. To go home and live stream is cutting you off from all of that. Yes, right. You're still hearing the preached word, but you're not hearing the preached word with the body, in the presence of the body. Yes, you're hearing the preached word and singing, but when the fellowship begins, you're at home. You're not with the body. Right. And so essentially what we're doing is we're cutting Christians off from the ordinary means of grace, which I believe are most operative in the corporate gathering, and that is stifling their spiritual growth and development, because we're cutting believers off even from all of the working members of the body.
Yep.
And so by doing that, Christ is no longer head of his church. Now Caesar is, because the government has decided that it's now no longer safe to meet for the greater public good. They can decide anything is for the greater public good and impose that upon the church. And the same logic would have to mean that Christians need to comply, Romans 13. And so it's a headship of Christ over his church reality. And it gets into the lordship of Christ over the government. Even as we look at what is the purpose of government, why did God put government in place? What's its role and function in a society? And when the government begins to transgress into other spheres of authority, what is the responsibility of those spheres of authority in responding to government and pointing that out?
Thanks for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, we hope that you'll take a moment and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can watch more content like this. Also, take a moment and give this video a like so that it can reach more people. And take a moment and click on the bell so that you'll be notified whenever we come out with new content. Thanks so much. God bless.